So even if the development goes away from maybe here, it's still going to happen other places. Absolutely.
Hi there, we're in Columbus, Indiana, speaking with ACT Research right at the end of their Market Vitals seminar. Here I've got with me Lydia Vieth, Research Analyst on Electrification and Autonomy, and Rundle, Vice President of Electrification and Autonomy with ACT Research. We're going to talk a little bit about what electrification and alt-fuel adoption is looking like in this new administration and this new market environment. So thank you both for taking the time to talk with me. So Lydia, could I ask you first, what is the environment looking like today? What is different from maybe even just a few months prior?
Sure. So a lot has changed this year. Obviously, the new administration has meant for a lot of changes in especially electrification, but just sort of alt fuels generally when you think about the regulatory landscape. We've gotten rid of CARB waivers, so no more ZEV mandates in the 11 states that had adopted advanced clean trucks. GHG3 and, well, all GHG emissions vehicle regulations are soon to be completely out the window. So there's also no longer any sort of federal level push to help sort of drive some ZEV adoption. So things have changed a lot. And even in the last couple of weeks, the OEMs have said the Clean Truck Partnership is no longer valid because the waivers have been revoked. So we're, even in the state of California, we're not going to comply with the Advanced Clean Truck ZEV requirements. So it's really becomes a sort of business case at this point. It's like, does this make sense for my specific application? Is the total cost of ownership sort of viable? So it gets really scaled back to sort of business decisions as opposed to any sort of regs driving it at this point.
Yeah, I'd love to ask you, Anne, what does the TCO environment look like then? Is the technology becoming more affordable very quickly? Are fleets adopting it at any different rate?
So is it becoming more affordable? Will it becoming more affordable? And the answer is yes, but it will take longer. And why? Because part of our total cost of ownership modeling included, under the IRA, there was an up to $40,000 per vehicle credit if you were a zero emission vehicle, right? A clean truck. Well, that's gone away. That has been sundowned as of the end of September. Those credits will no longer exist. And that 40,000 or up to 40,000, depending on what your prices were, made a big difference and made that business decision the right decision to make for a lot of very low GVWs, not Class A tractors by any imagination, but a lot of Class 4, 5, 6, and 7 were, it was a good business decision. You were getting the right return on investment. And after all, a commercial vehicle is just that. It's an asset. You're not buying it for pleasure or fun or gee whizzy or isn't this a cool tech? You're doing it because it's a tool in your business. And with that being sundown as of the end of September, that really changed and shifted out that affordability. Is battery technology still being developed? Are prices dropping? The answer is yes. In China, there's a lot of still demand, a lot of development in Europe. It's just that in North America, we will see that really being pushed out, and that affordability will take longer to come into play because there's no, at a federal level, help. There are still incentives at different state levels, but nowhere near the dollar amount. And also, even like state of California, state of New York, state of Washington, Oregon, there are states that are offering incentives, but it is a limited pool. Whereas that up to 40,000 was as many trucks as qualified, they got that 40,000. There wasn't wasn't a finite pot that had to get renewed every year. So it's really shifted from a TCO perspective as well. It's shifting that business case.
And adoption in other places like Europe and China, what is that looking like? What kind of EV or hydrogen electric vehicle adoption rates are they expecting now?
It's still, so I'll take the case of China that never really had the same kind of level of greenhouse gas requirements. The way that they are pushing that is from incentivizing in different regions and for different purchases. And that adoption rate right now, like what we would consider commercial vehicle class 4 through 8 in China, is projected to hit 22% adoption rate this calendar year. Last year it was like 8 point something. So, like more than doubling. And it's really because the Chinese government, they're not mandating it, but per se, and they're not putting it but they are making it very easy to make that as a decision. It becomes a good business decision, right? And that helps that in that they're now into second, third, fourth, fifth generation. They will still keep developing it, and they will bring those costs down. Their costs are still lower than us right now. Other regions, Europe still has. They have greenhouse gas. They've always been a proponent for greenhouse gas well before our 2009 endangerment findings, right? They were always regulating greenhouse gas, and they still have those regs on the books that are very stringent. I would expect to see that going to be declining, or the stringency becoming less. So the other parts of the world will start to see greater adoption than we will, for sure, because they've got either they've got regulations that they're either using a stick, like must read this, or they're doing a carrot, like in China. So it's we'll kind of be the odd group out.
And the timing of these GHG regulations, Lydia, if you could take this one, what does it look like for the revocation of the endangerment finding? Is this something where you could expect within weeks, within years? How fast until they're rolled back? And I think you mentioned previously, what kind of year timeline could we look like for when it would be possible to come back, depending on how the political environment rolls out with following elections?
Sure. So to rescind the endangerment finding, which included in that is rescinding the GHG3 and 1 and 2, that has to go through the sort of standard agency rulemaking process. So, we're in the public comment period right now. Then the EPA has to review and respond to those comments, and they'll put out the final rule. And, federal agency rulemaking is a very slow process. So usually it's sort of anywhere a year and a half to 2 years to get something finalized. Are they going to push this through at the speed of light? I don't know. I think that's one thing with this administration, never say never, but there is just sort of a standard calendar process that comes with this. So, maybe at earliest next year, we'll see the sort of finalized, sort of revocation of the endangerment finding and GHG3. So then what that means sort of in future, should a future administration wish to change that, it really becomes an uphill battle. Because you have to sort of go through the process again of explaining, okay, well, why are we now going to again change the, reinstate the endangerment finding? Is there new information? What do we know? This involves sort of scientific review, et cetera, to get that back in play. So that would likely take minimum a couple of years. And then for any federal rulemaking, you have to have a 4-year lead time. So from the date the rule's finalized, before you can enforce the rule, there's this kind of 4-year period so that the industry can prepare and sort of do what it needs to do to comply. So you start thinking about how long this takes. So endangerment finding takes a couple of years, then maybe, assuming that goes well, a new GHG rule minimum takes a couple of years to get in place. And we're kind of getting into the mid-2030s, and you tack on the 4-year time after that. So realistically, this starts getting pushed a lot further into the future.
A long time.
Yeah, a long time.
Wow, so these regulations, these federal incentives are going away, but the technology is still developing, and in many other parts of the world, they continue to develop and push for it and incentivize it. And it starts to belong to this TCO case, as you've both mentioned, that it has to be a viable business case. I think you mentioned during the presentation just then that some of the technologies are developing like battery chemistries. Could you talk a little bit more about that? What sort of chemistries are we looking on down the road?
Sure. So right now the preponderance, it's still lithium ion, but it is right now. It's either lithium iron phosphate or a high nickel content nickel, manganese, cobalt. And what's being developed is silicon for the anode, so you get rid of graphite. That becomes cheaper. You can do a faster charge, and that's being developed now, and is still being developed. And we're seeing that coming into passenger vehicles, and also other applications. Then there's also solid state, and on top of that, then there's lithium sulfur. So sulfur will replace the nickel, manganese, cobalt. So it's all getting cheaper, better energy density, faster charging, and that development, a lot of the development is still happening, like lithium sulfur here in the United States, but they are, they have global customers. Same for, silicon anodes. So because the battery companies are global. It's not just South Korea or China. They're here in the United States, and that development is happening, and it'll still keep happening, even if there might be somebody sitting here. I mean, if you go back and think, where was lithium ion first came about? It was here in the United States, right? And and Professor Goodenough, who developed it. So it's going to be. Those folks who are working on that stuff are still going to be working on that. It's still going to be developed. It might not necessarily be built here, and that happens all the time, But I think the good thing is because there's other regions that see that value, and not just even for vehicle applications, right? There are applications in marine. There's applications for remote vehicles, eVTOLs. Radio-controlled stuff, drones, da-da-da-da-da. There are other applications that we'll use and could benefit from. It's not just trucks and cars rolling down the highway.
And it sounds like those will make trucks and cars powered by batteries a lot lighter, a lot less expensive, a lot easier to charge, and overall a better business case?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, energy density that will be doubling, fast charging that's going to happen. So a lot of the negatives of how long it's going to take me to charge my battery, that kind of goes away. That becomes a moot point. And even CATL, who's now the world's largest battery manufacturer, which used to be like absolutely nothing, but China helped develop that whole market. They're coming out with a solid state in the next couple of years that will be commercialized. And they're actually the guys at CATL are actually expecting to see in China, they'll see a 50% adoption rate of trucks before the end of this decade.
Wow.
So even if the development goes away from maybe here, it's still going to happen other places. Absolutely.